A man's enemies will be persons of his own household. In one of the most tragic classics, we are forced to stare unflinchingly into a household descending into madness and chaos. The play, King Lear. The author, William Shakespeare. And you're listening to Lit Society.
Let's get lit!
Hey y'all, hey, this is Kari.
And this is Alexis.
And you're listening to Lit Society, a show about books and drama. Alexis, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias.
Oh, yo también. And on that note, let's move on to our theme of the week.
Oh, Lord.
The theme of the week, why are you all lording?
I'm concerned. I'm already concerned.
The theme of the week, listeners. If you're a new listener or a longtime listener of the show, you know that each week we discuss a theme inspired by the book. And this week, the theme is a game!
Dagnabbit. I'm so sick of you and your doggone games. I am. I am.
Cuckolds and strumpets!
What if I don't play?
Words born from and used in the plays of Shakespeare will make you question your fluency in the Queen's English. So this is the third time we played this game. Alexis always kills it. I don't know what her problem is. So Alexis, I will name a word, or I will enunciate a word used in the play we're covering this week.
This is really sad.
And if you could please tell me the meaning of that word. If you'd like, I can also give you a quote and let you know who said it in the play. Would you like that?
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Round one. Moiety. Moiety. For equalities are so weighed that curiosity in neither can make choice of either's moiety.
Personalities, their character.
A moiety is one of two equal parts. If you cut a sandwich in half, you can have one moiety for lunch and give the other moiety to a pigeon.
That is wild.
Moiety.
That is absolutely wild.
That's okay. You're still in it. And you know what? I forgot to mention, if you get at least half right, you win $1 million. Just Alexis, no one playing at home. Round two. Stratagem.
I know this word.
The quote. It were a delicate stratagem to shoe a troop of horse with felt. I'll put 10 proof. And when I have stolen upon these sons-in-law, then kill. Kendrick Lamar, King Lear. Stratagem.
Plot of revenge.
Alexis. Beautiful. A scheme or clever plot. Stratagem. Right on, sister. Round three. Ooh, girl, you so close to that money. I can smell it. Smell like Fort Knox. Here we go. Round three. Miscreant. Oh, vassal, miscreant. Laying his hand on his sword. King Lear did that. Miscreant.
I know this word.
Yes,
but I'm going. I don't know. I don't know what it means, but I've heard it used, and I know this word.
That is not an answer.
It's a terrible person. You know, he's a bad guy.
Why?
Because he done him dirty.
Elaborate.
Oh, a miscreant is a bio character.
I don't know. What do you guys think at home? This my friend, so I'm going to give it to her.
Ding. You're so kind.
A heretic or lawbreaker.
Yeah, we had this before. You cheated.
And you still didn't remember. Round four. Let me know when you're ready. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Fop. For wise men are grown foppish. They know not how their wits to wear. Their manners are so apish. This is from The Fool. But it's said throughout the play actually like 3 or 4 times.
Foppish.
Fop.
They're foolish. Man.
Fop,
So
a man who is concerned with his clothes and appearance in an affected and excessive way, i.e., a dandy.
A
Fop.
dandy.
Okay, well, you got one. You could still, oh no, it's not looking good. Round 5.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Yeah, go. Please, hurry.
Pell-mell, not hurry. Pell-mell.
Pell-mell.
Pell-mell. This game is turning into pell-mell. But the quote, does lecher in my sight let copulation thrive? For Gloucester's idiot son was kinder to his father than my daughters. Got tween the lawful sheets. Tote luxury pell-mell.
This is wild.
I could have screamed anything at the end of that. That context gave no context.
No. Pell-mell.
Mm-hmm.
Away with them.
Hard. Think helter-skelter. When things are messy, wacky, crazy, and all over the place, they are pell-mell. Also chaotic.
Ah.
Round 6.
Yeah.
Cousin. Now this time I'll spell it for you. C-O-Z as in Zephyr, E-N as in Nancy. Cousin. The quote. This is practice, Gloucester. By the law of arms thou wast not bound to answer an unknown opposite. Thou art not vanquished, but cousined and beguiled. Cousin.
And be what?
And beguiled.
Cousin.
This actually is good context. And that was Goneril, whose name, you know, she got teased in school. Goneril said,
Go ahead.
You want me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Goneril said, this is practice, Gloucester. By the law of arms, thou wast not bound to answer an unknown opposite. Thou art not vanquished, but cousined and beguiled.
And Goneril said this to who?
Gloucester. It's in the quote.
Gloucester.
Oh,
okay.
Really?
So
is it?
I'm trying to think.
Not the student teaching the teacher.
Let me think.
Alexis.
Okay, let me think.
Is it Gloucester?
Gloucester. Gloucester.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's just Gloucester.
Footnote. This is my favorite Shakespeare play in my entire life. I have said Gloucester.
That's because we're American. We can't help it.
What's just the Gloucester?
Gloucester.
Hey, sister. Gloucester. Gloucester. Oh, that's okay. Girl, what cousin mean?
Cousin, and beguiled. And beguiled?
Mm-hmm.
Cousin and beguiled. Yo, mother's first cousin.
Okay. Wow. To mislead or defraud someone through lies.
That's what I said, is it not? I think I said that. It was very close.
The latter, not. But cousined and beguiled. Yes, to mislead or defraud someone through lies. Okay, last chance at a million, round 7. Here we go.
This is all mine.
All in.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
Importune. The quote. Importune him once more to go, my lord. His wits begin to unsettle. Importune. And that was Kent. Am I saying that right, Kent?
Yeah, importune. Read the quote again one more time, just the beginning.
Importune him once more to go, my lord.
Oh, okay. Talk him into leaving. Let's go. Try to corral him up, get him ready to leave or to come back. Wait, it's one of those.
But if you look up importune in the dictionary, what does it say?
Convince him.
Let's just say she said to convince.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that ain't right either. However, it's close. And we gonna give it to her.
Can you stop with these games?
Importune. Harass someone persistently for or to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Importune.
Why isn't that same as convince? I don't read that version. I would never understand it.
Okay, so you read a modern language version of King Lear, and that is your excuse. All right, thank you. You didn't win this game, but I'm sure we'll cover Shakespeare in the future. And before we move on into the plot of this week's play, are you ready to take a break? Gather our thoughts before this entire show slips into Pall Mall. Wait, Paul Wall?
Not Paul.
What?
Pall
Mall. Pall Mall. Here we go. And we're back.
All right.
Alexis, please, would you like to tell us something about Billy Shakes that you haven't told us already in a previous episode? You got anything?
Well, I did have something, but the page has jumped away from me. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the context for this book. And
I'd love to hear that.
For this play, excuse me. As you know, we've covered at least two other books by Shakespeare. That is Othello, and the other one was Romeo and Juliet. So we have a deep character author conversation there. But let me just jump back to the part I wanted to share. Hold on one second. It says that Shakespeare authored King Lear around 1605, and was between Othello and Macbeth, and it is usually ranked with Hamlet as one of Shakespeare's greatest plays. The setting of King Lear is far removed from Shakespeare's time as the setting of any of his other plays, dramatizing events from the 8th century BC, but the parallel story of Lear and Gloucester's sufferings at the hands of their own children reflect anxieties that would have been close to home for Shakespeare's audience.
And even now. So this takes place in the 900s. That's so weird to even say. Wow, how interesting.
And just one possible event that may have influenced this play is a lawsuit that occurred not long before King Lear was written, in which the eldest of three sisters tried to have her elderly father, Sir Brian Annesley, declared insane so that she could take control of his property. Annesley's youngest daughter, Cordell, successfully defended her father against her sister. And then there was another one, but that's one of the primary ones. So I'll just leave it at that.
This is so interesting because what if your father is a monarch that is going mad? You know, maybe because of generations of inbreeding. Sanity is just something that your family don't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Very interesting. Well, thank you, Alexis. Now, may I ask, why did you choose King Lear for this week on Lit Society?
Okay, so the first time I heard King Lear, I was listening to Play On podcast, and I heard the dramatic modern day of King Lear with Keith David as the
And if
King
you
Lear.
guys don't know at home, he played the judge in First Sunday.
Oh, okay. And some other stuff.
If you didn't know, I know that jogged your memory. No, he's a legend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so
But he did play the judge in First Friday. Okay.
I love that so much, and I just wanted to read it. So I finally said, why not now?
Is that a modern English version?
Yeah, it is.
It is, right?
Yeah. It is. And who do you think would enjoy reading this play?
Yeah, I don't really do Hamlet, but I know the story. And if you love Hamlet, I could see you loving this. It's about monarchy, family, madness, security, and finding your peace as you age.
Okay.
So if that intrigues you, then perhaps King Lear is the play for you. All right. And on that note, Alexis, let's dive into the play. Spoiler-filled discussion into King Lear by William Shakespeare. Alexis, you have the floor.
Let's do it. Okay. So the play begins with Gloucester and Kent, two noblemen loyal to King Lear. Gloucester, we find out, is an adulterer. He has a child from that relationship, and his name is Edmund. Gloucester introduces Edmund to Kent. He's like, oh, this is my boy. You should know him. I like him just as much as my legitimate child. This one's the bastard.
Yeah. And Kent is like, I can't conceive you having a child outside of marriage. And Gloucester goes, well, his mother could. And it's like they both look at the audience and wink. And then you like, I don't know if this is the play for me, but hang in there.
Hang in there. The two men are also kind of discussing that the king will be dividing his kingdom very soon. So soon after, King Lear walks in and Gloucester leaves. He directs Gloucester to go and get like the King of Burgundy and the King of France, who are two suitors for his daughter, his youngest daughter. The king, when he comes in, is followed by the Dukes of Cornwall and the Duke of Albany and their wives, Regan and Goneril. And then, of course, the youngest daughter.
What's the last one?
Goneril. And his daughter, Cordelia. The king then announces he's dividing his kingdom into 3 parts. He's going to hand it over to the younger generation so he can enjoy his peace and enjoy life in his old age. So, you know, and plus he wants to avoid the hostilities that usually happen after death. He's just going to get that out of the way now. And you take the kingdom, I'm going to live my life.
So far, we believe this to be a good father. He's thinking about the future of his realm. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not selfishly hoarding power. He is also writing his will before he dies. I know a lot of us would love our parents to do that.
And then, okay, so he tells the daughters, listen, since I'm giving up my throne and the worries that go along with it, tell me who loves me the most. And he'll give the largest gift to that person who deserves it the most. So Goneril, the eldest, goes first and she pours it on thick. And meanwhile, Cordelia, the youngest, is like, dang, if she love him like that, then what could I say?
I titled this part Family Matters.
Okay.
Goneril goes, sir, I love you more than word can will the matter, dearer than eyesight, space, and liberty, beyond what can be valued, rich or rare. It's like, okay, girl. Little obsequious.
Yeah, so he gives Goneril a piece of land. He's like, yes, I love that. Here, have some
Sing
land.
my praises, queen. I mean, princess.
Yeah. And so next Regan goes and she's like, everything my sister said and some more, okay? A little thick. You got a quote for that too?
She says, my sister comes short in her love. I myself am an enemy to all other joys except love for you, daddy. And at this point, Cordelia is like, why y'all got husbands? Y'all love daddy so much.
Yeah. She's like, how can I even rate? So now it's Cordelia's turn and he tells her, what can you tell me that will make me give you a bigger part of my kingdom than your sisters? Kari, what's Cordelia's response?
I love you. Listen, I could go on and draw it out, but you are my father. Mm-hmm. I am your daughter, and I love you so. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right? You good? He goes, no, I'm not good.
Exactly. That's what he says. So he's like, fix your statement, make it right so I can... your inheritance is in jeopardy. Do better.
She's the favorite child. Yeah, he always wanted to give her everything. Probably.
Everything. Yeah. And she's like, I can't do that. I mean, you got my sisters over here talking about they love their husbands. they love you more than their husbands. What? Mm-hmm. I hope my marriage don't be like that.
Exactly. So I'm going to come at you with sincerity.
Yeah. So Lear doesn't appreciate her response and calls her young and cruel. Cordelia says she's just being honest, and Lear disowns her right then and there. Kent is a nobleman. This is the one that was in a conversation with Gloucester early on in the conversation. And he tries to interject and he's like, oh, King, please don't do this. And he's shut down immediately. Lear tells him he wanted to spend his old age with Cordelia, taking care of him. He loved her the most. And he then calls for the husbands, the men that are interested. Yeah, the suitors.
Yeah, they're not husbands yet.
Yeah. Oh, actually, just before that, he tells the husbands of Goneril and Regan to divide the rest of the kingdom amongst themselves. And he grants them the crown, all the privileges that the kingship brings. He says he will stay 1 month with each sister, right? And he just wants to have 100 knights in his entourage, and he'll only keep the title of king, and they'll have everything else, authority, income, and he gives them the crown. Kent again insists that the king listen to him, imploring him to be rational and not make this rash decision. Lear warns him again to stop talking if he wants to live, but Kent persists, saying it's worth it if he can protect Lear from this terrible decision. Kent tells Lear to take that gift back from Albany and Cornwall, and if you don't, I'm going to just keep telling you about your bad decision. So Lear is like, he's already mad. He's beyond mad. And so he tells Kent that he is banished.
So the king tells him he has 5 days to leave the kingdom. If he is caught within the kingdom, after 10 days, he will be executed.
Lear is big mad. His feelings is hurt. His pride is hurt by the actions of Cordelia, and there is nothing to soothe him. Nothing. No one can say anything to him. He has lost it. So
and
then,
it's not like they can just catch a train and move to New York. This the 900s. When you are banished, you are like kicked out of civilization. So he's removed from the court and his home. His house. He got a whole mini mansion.
Yep.
A little castle. He got to get out.
He's out.
For telling the truth.
Yep. And then Gloucester returns. So, he went to go get the suitors. Okay, so he returns with the rulers of France and Burgundy, the two men interested in marrying Cordelia. He asked the king of Burgundy, or would you say he's the what?
He's the Duke of Burgundy.
Okay, so
it's the Duke of Burgundy and King of France.
Okay, so he says, what's the least you'll take for Cordelia's dowry?
Wait, no, because the king lets them in. The king lets them in, and he's like, hey, you want my daughter? Just, full disclosure. She broke. She ugly. I hate her. And she broke. Okay? So you want her or what?
But that's what he says to Burgundy initially. And he's like, I don't want anything less than what you offered. And I couldn't make a decision outside of that. Because could you just give us what you offered?
And then he tells King Lear tells the King of France, you deserve better. What? It was so out of nowhere. Again, this is Cordelia, his favorite daughter.
His favorite
she refused
daughter.
to lie to him.
His favorite daughter. And France is like, well, that's odd. Just yesterday, she was your favorite. Why would you? I can't even imagine what she could have done to fall from your grace. Either your love was false or her crime was extreme. So Cordelia speaks up and she tells Lear, don't make it seem like I committed a crime or was immoral, or my only error is that I don't have a way with words. And France is like, that's the only reason you hate her, because she's shy and she can't speak like everybody else does? No. So he says to Burgundy, what you gonna do? And Burgundy's like, I'm sorry, I can't. I need all the stuff.
He was like, I don't really want to get married this year. I'm going to get back on Tinder and Bumble and go back to Burgundy.
He said, I need the things. I need all the things. France is like, I'll take you broke, Cordelia. Tell her sisters to take care of their father and show him the love they profess. The sister said, mind your business, brother. Mind your business. And tell Cordelia, go off with your husband who took you as a charity case. You failed to obey your father and you deserve everything being taken from you. That is what happened. So let's get into it. This plot now. So Goneril and Regan agree that Lear's like flighty in his old age.
Yeah, to their credit, they're like, if this what they do to the favorite, if this what he does to the favorite, what he gonna do to us?
Exactly. But he's also a hothead, they said. So we need to act now. Whatever we do, we need to act now. So now remember, Edmund, who we introduced early in the story, he's the illegitimate son of Gloucester, the nobleman. Well, he's feeling some type of way. He don't want to be a bastard. He don't want to be labeled a bastard child and cut out of everything. He feels cheated. He said, I'm just as smart as my brother. My father loves me just as much as he loves my brother. Why can't I just have the things? Like, why can't I be equal? So he's determined to get his older brother's inheritance. So,
and this is interesting because his father does, I won't say favor him, but loves him a lot.
Yeah,
and he probably could have just had a conversation with his father, but in his greed, he doesn't just want his inheritance. He wants his brother, Edgar, not to have his inheritance, which would have been the lion's share.
Yeah. So Gloucester walks in while Edmund is looking at Edmund's letter. Okay, so Gloucester sees it and he's like, what you got there? And so he's like, oh, you don't need to see this. Oh, he's hiding it from him. You don't need to see this. Oh, no, it's nothing. But then he says, it's a letter from my brother that he hasn't finished reading quite yet. So he knows it's not fit for his father to read. You shouldn't read it. I just started reading it, but you shouldn't read it. The letter says that old people make it hard on the young people by living and keeping their inheritance from them. If your father were dead, they could have it. They could share it.
If your father was put to sleep.
Wow. The letter is signed Edmund. The letter is signed Edgar. So Edmund tells him this letter was cleverly thrown in his window. Nobody delivered it. It was just thrown in his window. And Edmund offers to assist and get into the bottom of why Edgar would speak like this about his own father. It's so horrendous. So Gloucester agrees and tells him, manage it how you see best, and I'll wait to hear. When Edgar comes by, Edmund tells him Gloucester is mad enough to hurt you, and if he hurt you, that wouldn't even be enough. So listen, you need to get out of sight. In fact, go stay at my place. And if you go outside, make sure you arm yourself. Edmund has convinced Edgar that some villain has told his father lies about him. And Edmund tells Edgar he'll take him to his father when the time is right. He'll arrange everything. He'll make everything okay.
And to his credit, again, the father isn't completely convinced of Edgar's villainy. He's like, how could my son, my boy, be my villain? Would he? Mm-hmm. And why does this have to happen on the same day that my BFF Kent has been banished? What a day.
That's right. Meanwhile, at Goneril's house, Lear is like getting on her every last nerve. All the nerves, he hitting them. He hit one of her attendants for scolding his fool. He's always complaining and reprimanding her. His knights are out there cutting up in a horrible way. And so she decides to set her plan in motion. Goneril's steward and his other servants, she tells them, listen, be less attentive. In fact, be lazy in front of the king. Neglectful, in fact. And if he doesn't like it, he can go to Reagan's. And I'll send a letter to Reagan giving her the heads up. The goal is to provoke confrontation so she can give him a piece of her mind. No.
So is she wrong in this? I mean, house guests and fish, right?
Yeah, house guests. He old and he cutting up. He cutting up.
He's old. He cutting up. He's got how many friends?
He got 100 entourage.
100 friends. And she says that they're turning her house into like a brothel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is enough. Okay, you're riotous. You're obnoxious. You're rude to my servants.
And she don't like it.
She don't like it. I don't know. Why wouldn't he just act right? I think then maybe she would put up with him if he, I don't know. I'm on her side in this right now.
Okay. Yeah, sure. It seems very reasonable, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he cutting up like this? Just be old and act right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, remember Kent, who was banished?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he has disguised himself. And he goes and kind of looks for Lear because he wants to work for him and be by his side so he can look out for him, because he know this whole thing is just quite negative. It's a bad turn. Also, with Lear is a fool or a jester. And the jester's role is he don't have to be polite. He just has to be funny, whatever he does.
And he can tell the truth. He can talk about what's going on in the realm that the king rules over or in the king's own personal life, as long as the king still finds this truth entertaining coming from the fool or the jester.
Right.
So he can tell the king, you a real big dummy, as long as he says it funny, which he does throughout the play.
It's a lot of funny. He has a lot of funny lines, and I tell you. I did have a part I wanted to read, but I don't see it.
Oh, I hope it's the one I have so we can compare.
What's yours?
So the fool arrives, and through double speak, he tells the king how unhappy he is with his decision to split his kingdom. He says, I marvel what kin thou and thy daughters are. They'll have me whipped for speaking true. Thou would have me whipped for lying. And sometimes I am whipped for holding my peace. I'd rather be any kind of thing than a fool. And yet I would not be thee, nuncle. Thou hast parred thy wit o' both sides and left nothing I the middle. Here comes one of the pairings. So he's saying, I'm a fool. I hate my life, but it's still better than being you.
Are you calling me a fool, boy? This is part of that same conversation, Kari. And then again, mine's is the modern version. And so they're going back and forth, and he's, just sharing his insights about, because he was like sad when Cordelia left. And so he was missing for a few days because he was crying about it.
The king was,
yeah. So the conversation goes on in continuation of where Kari was. And he said, Lear says, are you calling me a fool, boy? Well, you've given away all your other rightful titles. The title of fool is the only one left. This isn't entirely a joke, Your Highness. No, I wish I could be a complete joker, but so many lords and important men are also playing fools that I can't have a monopoly on it. Ladies, too, they're always snatching away my role as the biggest fool. Uncle, give me an egg, and I'll give you 2 crowns. Which 2 crowns would those be? Well, when I cut the egg in half and cut the whites, the yolk will be in 2 parts, like 2 golden crowns. When you cut your own crown and kingdom in half and gave away both parts, you were as foolish as the old man in the old story who carries his donkey on his back instead of letting the donkey carry him. You didn't have much brains inside that bald crown of your head when you gave away the gold crown of your kingdom. If I'm telling you the truth like a fool and saying all of this, whip the first person who thinks I sound foolish. And that was the fool. He be spitting gems to the king, and the king don't get it. That's just a little bit. So when Goneril approaches her father, okay, she was waiting for the opportunity, and the opportunity has come. She tells him that his behavior is unacceptable, and also the behavior of his knights. And she tells him that she wishes that he would snap out of his mood that he's been in and be true to his true self again. And Lear does acknowledge that he hasn't been himself. Either his mind is losing its grip or his judgment is screwy. But Lear even asks Goneril her name during this conversation, and she replies, you need to stop with those pranks. In fact, reduce the number of knights you have to a little and keep the old ones who know how to act their age, because the palace, as Kari said, was starting to look like a brothel. Lear is outraged by this request and defends the knights and tells Goneril that she's not really his daughter. So now he starts digging into him. And Goneril had already dismissed 50 of the knights. So this is like the final straw. He tells Goneril, and he still has one daughter left, so he's going to go over to her house.
Reagan.
Now, just as, and then he said, when I get to Reagan's house, she's going to be mad how you treated me, and she's going to come here, and she's going to scratch you up with her fingernails. Get it?
He said, don't make me get my daughter to fight you, daughter.
It's wild. So Goneril's husband comes in, and he sees Lear leaving. He's like, what's going on? But just know I ain't got nothing to do with that. Act 2. So Edmund, we know who he is. He's the bastard son. He learns that Gloucester, Cornwall, and Regan will be staying at his place tonight, and he sees it as an opportunity. He tells Edgar that it was leaked that he was hiding. Well,
he's at Gloucester's. So it's Gloucester's place.
Yeah, it's Gloucester's place. But when he told him to go, he said, go to my place.
Oh.
So it must be their big house anyway, a portion, like a little apartment on the side. Anyway, he tells Edgar that it's been leaked, that he's been hiding, and he's like, you gotta go. Wait, though. Let's create a scene. Go ahead, Kari.
He was like, the king's son-in-law is... This part makes no sense. So Edmund tells Edgar, the king's son-in-law is coming, and he heard that you ain't taking his side in one of his rap battles. And Edgar is like, what? So Edgar is like very innocent in mind, and he can't even understand anything his brother is saying, from run because our father is looking for you and stay strapped, to the king's son-in-law is looking for you now because you didn't take his side against I forgot who. And so Edgar is like, well, just tell me what to do. And so Edmund is like, get your strap and run. Just run as fast as you can. Run, Simba, and never return. And so Edgar grabs his sword and starts running. And as Edgar has his back turned, Edmund pulls out his sword as if Edgar is running away from him. And coincidentally, the daddy walk in like, what are you doing? And Edmund's like, oh, I had to fight my brother because he came here to kill you, Daddy. And now the father is like, it's true then. Yeah. It's true. And Edmund goes on and on about, he cut me this way and this way, but I was valiant. I was fighting for your honor because you know I love you, Daddy, more than anyone. I'm so brave. Give me all your money.
So the portion that I read is that there is a scene created where they're kind of play fighting so he can kind of just shout him off.
That would make a lot more sense. So I do think they changed that, because it's real weird in Shakespeare's play for the Duke of Cornwall, who's married to Regan, to be in a fight. And then, I don't know, it's just a little convoluted.
So it's just Edmund and Edgar here at this point. And they are...
Yeah, the Duke of Cornwall isn't there. So Edmund just heard that he's coming. He's like, Edgar, you got to run.
Yes.
Because I heard that he mad at you.
Yes, that's what happened. So they do the fake fight. Well, they're not really fighting. He's just doing this so he can yell out and people can come to his rescue, because he says swords, but loud enough for people to come.
Yeah.
And so they come. He does a fake cut on his arm, right? For the theatrics. And like Kari says, he's like, Gloucester is all in now. He's like, I know. My son, I can't believe it. My son. That kind of thing. And when he's leaving, Gloucester then tells Edmund, as if he didn't know, because he doesn't know he knows, that Cornwall is coming tonight, and his authority, he'll proclaim that whoever finds Edward and helps him bring the murderous coward to justice will be rewarded.
Edgar.
Yep. Yeah. Bring his son and murder him. It's okay, because he's a coward. And whoever helps Edgar should be punished by death. Additionally, Edmund tells his father that Edgar told Edmund no one would believe the bastard over a legitimate child. So he further adds to the story that he's against him. Leaving Gloucester to say, my loyal and true son, I'll find some way to make you my heir. Just what Edmund wanted to hear. So when Regan and Cornwall arrive, Regan tells Gloucester she's heard the rumors about Edgar and that he was probably friends with her father's knights who are a terrible influence.
She's just going on and on. This also doesn't make sense because Edgar is the king's godson.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, then he must have been with the entourage. They put him up to it.
He got bad. They put him up to it.
He got bad.
He was good before and then he got bad. So she told him she got a letter from her sister saying that Lear, her father, is on her way to her house. So she had to leave. So say, get out of there before he gets there. So Edmund
standing by like, yes, all of this is probably true. You really put the piece. You so smart.
Yeah. So Goneril, Stuart, and Kent. Remember Kent? He's the faithful, loyal.
He is the nobleman, banished, and now pretending to be a peasant.
He's in disguise,
just so he can protect King Lear.
Yeah, so he's delivering letters to Regan from the king, and Kent, when he sees Goneril's steward, which is Oswald, he's like, "You dirty rotten scoundrel!"
Can I say what he said?
Yes.
He calls him a lily-livered, action-taking trampson, glass-gazing, super serviceable, finical rogue, one-trunk inheriting slave, which is fun.
Yeah.
He had me at lily-livered. People don't say that enough.
They don't. They absolutely don't.
I don't know. You call me super serviceable. I don't know. We might have to fight.
What is super serviceable?
I don't even know that. I don't want to look it up either. One trunk inheriting slave. Whoa. Wow.
So
that's deep.
Cornwall comes out and he sees them like getting ready to get into it, but it's really just Kent that wants to fight Oswald. Oswald don't want to fight. He don't want no smoke with Kent at all. But Kent is bringing all the smoke, okay? So Cornwall puts Kent in stocks because of his treatment of Oswald. And Gloucester suggests that the king might be angry if he found out you was treating his servant like this. Cornwall doesn't care. He does it anyway. Mm-hmm. So then Edgar learns that he's been declared an outlaw. So he disguises himself as a lowly beggar and he goes off.
Why was Kent starting fights with Oswald? I've never understood that. Why did he call him names and stuff?
Remember.
What's his problem?
So listen, remember when he first came to Lear and tried to be his servant? And Goneril was like, hey, treat the king with less respect. And I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, Kent saw him doing that. He's like, you don't deal with him like that.
And then he tripped him.
So he was mad ever since then.
So he just continuing the fight from that. He a little too loyal. You ever have a friend that's too loyal? Like somebody rude to you and they be like, what you say? You'd be like, hold on.
I was fine with that. I was really.
Let's let it go. Let's pursue peace.
That's who Kent is.
Okay, got it. So he's just doing too much. Got it. Thank you.
The way he went into him, boy, it was just wild. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when Lear comes by and sees that his man is in stocks, Kent is in stocks, he is like livid. Why would you do this to me? Why? And he can't believe that Regan and Cornwall are responsible. He tries to go speak to them, but they don't even want to be bothered with him. They won't even come to the door.
To their credit, King Lear just met this man in the woods a day ago. Now, he don't know it's Kent, his old nobleman friend Kent. He think this just a peasant he met in the woods. The peasant comes to your house, starts abusing your servants. You put him in stocks, and now the king mad?
The fact that he's the king's servant should give him an elevated position.
He shouldn't start fights with people.
It was all in honor of the king, though.
Sure.
Okay. So he pleads with Gloucester to go inside and convince them to change their mind. And they're like, no, we're not changing our mind. They leave him out there. The next morning, Lear is greeted kindly by Regan and Cornwall, and Kent is freed. It's just like a new day and everything is okay, but it's not. But it's not. Lear tells Regan that Goneril is treating him bad, and Regan hits him with the, well, maybe you don't really appreciate her. Oh boy, I forgot this part.
I'm not on your side like you thought I would be.
Yeah, so she actually tells him, why don't you, just apologize and go back to Goneril's house and just take your 50. That's a lot still, but take your 50.
Your 50 men.
And then when Goneril arrives and Regan welcomes her, Lear is disappointed that Regan is siding with her and says he'd rather wander into the open air and even go back to the King of France and beg for a pension. Anything but here, because you women, you're reckless. Goneril tells him, go on in. Shoot, sick of you anyway. Regan.
It's crazy because when I first read this play or saw it, I was definitely on his side. But I don't know. It just hit me different this last time.
The older you get, you start to
get out. Fine.
Regan tells him, so Goneril's like, go on then, go out there. And King Lear is like, well, I'm just going to stay with Regan. Come on, Regan, let's go. Regan was like, but I wasn't expecting you. I'm not quite ready for you. Why don't you just go back with Goneril again? And maybe even
the house
cut
isn't
it down.
ready for guests.
Yeah, cut it down. Do you even need 50 knights? That's outrageous. The house is full of servants that can help you. Use them, because you don't need all them extra. They costly too. Lear vows revenge on his daughters and exit. He storms out with his jester, a gentleman, and Gloucester, just as the storm breaks out. So it's heavy storming, and they going out into this rain. Gloucester goes out for a moment, but then he returns and he asks he tells him that Lear asked for a horse and he refuses to stay. He again, of course, pleads with Goneril and Regan to keep the father here. And they're like, no. And if you bring him up again, you're going to get in trouble. I'm sick of you. Act 3. Kent and the man that left with Lear come across each other. And Kent tells him that there's a feud brewing between Albany and Cornwall, and that the French are on the verge of declaring an open war. And Kent asks this man to get a message to Cordelia, and the man agrees. Meanwhile, the jester tries to convince Lear to return to his daughters, and he again refuses. Gloucester tells Edmund that when he asked if he could take pity on Lear, they took his house and ordered him not to speak of Lear again. Gloucester tells Edmund that with his life, he will help the king, and tells him to cover for him with the girls. He asked his son to cover for him. Did he do it, Kari?
Of course not, because this works great into his plan of unaliving his father.
Yeah. Kent and the fool get Lear into this. It sounds like they're getting him into like a protective hut, right? And when they enter,
from the rain.
Yeah, from the rain. And when
it's the storm,
when they get to the hut, they find that Edgar is in there disguised as a mad poor man named Tom. They call him Poor Tom.
Yeah, he like naked and drooling and got dirt all over him. And he going da-ba-dee, da-ba-da.
Saying stuff. Lear called him a philosopher, in fact. Edgar engages with Lear so that Lear is intrigued by him. He wants to talk more. And they're like, get away from that man. He is mad.
So now we have Lear not remembering two people that are in close company. He doesn't know who Edgar is because Edgar is not looking like himself. Okay. And then he doesn't know who Kent is because he's wearing a fake mustache.
He's also in disguise. So, again, I can't believe Lear at this point is absolutely losing his mind. He said he's got to be. Gloucester reveals to Kent that he's experiencing hardships in his own life. He had to legally disown his son because he tried to kill him. Edmund, meanwhile, goes to Cornwall and reveals from the letter that Gloucester is a spy, that his father is a spy. He goes and tells. Cornwall calls Gloucester's actions treasonous and tells Edmund his actions have made him Earl of Gloucester, and he should go tell his father that he's going to be arrested. Edgar, Kent, both in disguise, the fool, Lear, they're all in his hut, and Lear and Edgar act out, putting his daughters on trial because he's insane at this point. Mm-hmm. Gloucester arrives, tell Kent that they're seeking to kill the king, so they have to leave and find him some safety elsewhere. Okay, so Cornwall tells Regan and Goneril about Gloucester's treasonous behavior and says, and one of them is like, hang him, and the other one is like, gouge his eyes out. Mm-hmm. Crazy. And they send Edmund, and this is where they send Edmund away and tell him, we don't want you to see your father die because we're going to kill him. So the servants bring Gloucester in, and Cornwall tells him to tie him up. And this is happening in his own house because they stayed at his house.
Yeah, but they're over him. So now it's kind of their house.
Like, literally.
But
they're over him. So he's like confused as to why this is happening. And Gloucester tells him that they got it all wrong, that the letter he has was someone guessing about what events are occurring, and it wasn't somebody in opposition to them. And so they make him explain why he helped the king, and that's too much for them. And Cornwall gouges one of his eyes out and then steps on it. And before he could gouge out the other, one of the servants, his longtime servant, steps up. He's like, we're not going to have this. This is too much. And he stabs Cornwall with the sword. And while that's happening, Regan gets a sword and she stabs the servant in the back. She stabs him in the back. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. The servant.
Regan stabs the servant in the back. Cornwall.
And then don't she go get the other eyeball?
No. Cornwall has enough strength to gouge out the other eyeball.
You got other things to worry about. You are stabbed.
He is stabbed. And in this day and age, they wasn't really surviving that stuff. Gloucester calls for his son. And Regan tells him, you calling for the wrong son. He's the one that actually hates you. And they throw him out and tell him to sniff his way off to Dover. But it turns out that it's members of Gloucester's household that really respect him and they want to support him. So they aid him. I don't know where people be going, but they aided him somewhere.
To the blue line.
Act 4. I think
shout out Chicago.
Edgar is still in the hut disguised as poor Tom. I think this is the hut, okay? If so, the servant brings Gloucester there, and Edgar sees what's happened. Yeah, he's like, what happened?
No eyeballs.
It just, this is a crazy situation. Edgar still disguised as poor Tom. Either way, Gloucester says that poor Tom can guide him. The old man wants poor Tom to guide him to a cliff. He gives him a little cash to do that, some coin. Gloucester has sympathy for poor Tom now, where yesterday was like, get away from that crazy man. He feels a lot differently today. When Goneril and Edmund return to her home, we find that Goneril is cheating on her husband. That's right. And when Albany shows up, that's her husband, she says, you finally find me worthy of your attention. And he tells her, you ain't worth the dust the wind blows in your face.
That's crazy. Some of these business, you can write them down and use them to this day.
Okay? Definitely. I found a lot of them.
That's mean.
I I think I'm going to hold on to him. Goneril
You'll know when to use them.
Goneril tells him his kingdom is being invaded by the French and he's not even preparing for the war. Then a messenger comes in with a word that the Duke of Cornwall is dead and Gloucester's eyes have been gouged out. Albany rejoices at the quick justice. Now he's rooting for Lear and Gloucester. And he brings a letter to Goneril from her sister. Meanwhile, Regan and Edmund are traveling together. Now, we done already learned that Goneril and Edmund got a thing. We
didn't talk about it yet, though. It's really like, why is this happening, actually?
Mm-hmm. That's happening. Because she's unhappy with her husband. The messenger...
Yeah, but that don't serve the overall plot of the story. Maybe it shows how she's not trustworthy. If you were even on her side a little bit, now you probably shouldn't be.
Oh.
For sure.
At this point, yes. You should have a change of consideration. The messenger also reveals that Edmund was the first to denounce his father. Edmund is the problem. It's being revealed. Mm-hmm. Edmund is the problem. Now Albany knows, and Albany vows revenge for Gloucester. Kent sees the man that gave the letter to Cordelia and gets an update. Cordelia sends out 100 troops to find her father and bring him to her and talks with the doctor about, is it possible for my father even to get better? And he's like, yeah, he can get better. Goneril's steward arrives at Regan's with a note to give to Edmund because that's her little man. Mm-hmm. But Edmund leaves to kill his father because they know if people see him, he'll inspire compassion. And they don't want that. Regan, however, is more concerned about why Goneril is sending a letter to Edmund. And Regan tells the servant she knows Goneril doesn't love her husband and reminds him that her husband, in fact, is dead. And make sure you pass that note to my sister. Her and Edmund have talked, and it makes more sense for Edmund to marry her than Goneril. And she tells the steward to tell Goneril everything I said and then give her maybe a letter. Give her a letter and then give her a side note that says, make sure you use your head next time. She also tells him.
So now we have infighting for the boyfriend.
Infighting.
The widow and the wife want the boyfriend.
They want the boyfriend.
These people are bored.
She also tells him that she will reward anybody who can snuff out Gloucester. So Edgar is still disguised and he guides his father and convinces him at some point that he's at a cliff and his father tries to unalive himself. But Edgar feels like if he actually goes through this process, he'll be able to get over feeling sorry for himself. And by playing through those actions, he actually does get over that piece. Gloucester and Edgar then run into Lear, and Gloucester is relieved to know that the king is alive. They recognize each other. He recognizes his voice, and Gloucester recognizes Lear's voice, and Lear recognizes Gloucester.
But not Edgar. It's okay. Or Kent.
The men approach and take Lear to Cordelia, but he runs off. There's some other men, like servants, Cordelia's French gentlemen, come and they're looking to take Lear to Cordelia, but Lear runs off. They end up chasing him down and giving him to Cordelia. Gloucester and Edgar head out when Goneril's servant appears, ready to take Gloucester's life, but Edgar steps in the way. Edgar unalives the steward and reads the letter from Goneril, which reveals the plot for Albany's death by the hand of Edmund. Final act, okay? Final act. Edmund and Regan are together again, and she's like, do you really love my sister? Because, I don't know, I think we should be together instead.
And he's like, who's your sister? Oh, she all right.
It's insane.
These people are terrible. Mm-hmm.
And now Albany and Goneril enter the scene, and Goneril says she'd rather lose the battle than let her sister come between her and Edmund. It's serious to her. Goneril and Regan and Edmund and Albany all meet together. They're about to go kind of talk through how to handle the battle, right? And then Edgar comes in a disguise and asks to have a word with Albany because he's still disguised. And Albany tells them he'll catch up. And he'll catch up with the group and go and talk to Edgar. And Edgar gives Albany a letter, and it's got some instructions on what he should be doing if such and this and that happen. And so he leaves. And then he returns to his father and tries to help him get away because he now knows that Lear and Cordelia have been captured. They've been captured by who, Kari? Edmund. He imprisons Lear and Cordelia. And Albany is congratulating him on his success. But then Edmund tries to give Albany some advice. And he's like, you're not on my level. I don't take advice from you. So then the ladies have a little tiff because they're like, I put him in position to speak to you on the same level as you. Albany jumps out and is like, wait a minute. Anyway, Albany, you're under arrest for treason along with my wife.
What?
Yeah. Edgar appears and denounces Edmund as treasonous. He is the person.
In front of everyone.
Say it again.
Yeah, he in front of everyone. He outs him as the true culprit.
Of all the things that are bad. Everybody's mad. So they get into a fight. And Edgar is wounded. But there is forgiveness in Edgar's heart. And they forgive each other. Meanwhile, the girls, they don't forgive each other. One poisons the other and they die.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
the daughters are dead now.
The daughters are dead. Edgar dies. No, not Edgar. Edmund dies. And then the king and Cordelia are both killed by British forces, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Cordelia has actually been working with her husband to find her father. Because even though he banished her and disowned her, she still has that sincere love for him. And she's the one who's looking to care for him, but he can't see it because of his blind anger and pride and hurt ego. And then in the end, everybody dead.
Everybody dead, except for Albany and Edgar. And I don't think Gloucester is dead.
No, Edgar's dead, isn't he? No, Albany gives... Edmund's
dead. And that's the end. Why don't we take a quick break?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. And we're back. So, Kari, what's your final thoughts on our book and would you recommend it?
I mean, this play is a downer. I don't know what to tell you, but if you have the right King Lear, it's really, really intriguing. I saw Anthony Hopkins play King Lear and he was brilliant. He was really good. As you mentioned, Mr. Keith David. Wonderful King Lear. That's an audio play. And it's free right now. Play on podcast. It's a podcast. And like it says in the name, you can listen to it. It's very good. And it's modern day English. So although this is a downer, I will say I thoroughly enjoy King Lear. I think the subject matters it brings up are still relevant today. Those of trust within the family, when money's involved, and when it comes to how we care for aging parents. It is clear that King Lear is going mad. However, we are made to believe that his daughters should also stop always thinking of their own selfish interests and take some time to consider what their father would want. He took time, to consider them, even though the way he chose to do it was not advisable.
Yeah, that was all.
But he did
motivated by hubris.
But I love the way these matters are dissected. I do not like the part about infidelity when it comes to the oldest daughters. I feel like that is just superfluous to the themes that we really should be biting into. This should really be a story about trusting family. Edmund with his anger of being the half brother and his resentment regarding his father and half brother Edgar. I think that's very interesting. And of course, the king himself and his issues with his daughter. For those reasons, I would say that this is a play that holds up. It ages well. And the Fool's statements are comic relief to all of this tragedy. So that's good. Yeah, I don't know, you guys. I definitely recommend King Lear. It's really good. And it's my favorite of all of Shakespeare's plays. Alexis, what did you think of King Lear? And is this a play you would recommend, whether it be read or seen? Would you recommend any of that to anyone?
Okay, so yes, I enjoyed this book, this play. The modern version really had me cracking up in a lot of areas of the book. The way Kent went off on Oswald, nonstop. It was too many words, adjectives to describe him, and it was just hilarious. So I really appreciated that. I, like you, appreciated the themes about what to do with older people, because in the beginning you really could appreciate where the sisters were coming from. Because why are you at this big age cutting up like
why
that?
Why are you so belligerent with a whole crew, a whole entourage?
Why do you need 100 men? If you just want to relax and enjoy, why do you need 100 people with you? Why are you cutting up?
And they mooching off you. They expensive.
Yes.
You know, I take it back. I actually don't think this is a downer. I think the tragic parts are played in a way that is more ridiculous.
Yes, very ridiculous.
So in that way, it's also a dark comedy.
It is a dark comedy. It is. You know, it is.
They ripped out his eyes. Completely unnecessary.
Those are vicious
on their
people.
dying breath, they reach for eyeball.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's weird.
Those parts, it is. It's a dark comedy for sure. I think I like this more than Romeo and Juliet. Which is the other one?
Yeah. And Romeo and Juliet is frustrating because none of the adults give good guidance to the children, and the children don't make good decisions. It's really frustrating.
Yeah.
But this, I just feel like, yeah.
And then
I agree with you.
And then the conversation about accepting genuine love and not believing everything people say to you. I mean, because although Gloucester didn't want to believe it, he did end up believing what the other son said without even having a conversation with Edgar. And I think that's nicely emphasizing here that there should have been a conversation somewhere in here and not just fall for everything somebody else says about you.
But how can you have a conversation when you think the next time you see that person, they're going to try to take you out?
You have it
based on nothing.
You bring your friends.
Yeah,
you bring your friends. You don't go alone. You take two parties with you to serve as a witness. So a couple of people dressed up as beggars, disguise themselves as beggars, and you can see how the people, the noble ones, treated them, and how that kind of changed later on. And so I think that was a glimpse into how maybe a discussion about how we treat people and when we're doing well. Us? Yeah.
Oh, okay,
what we see. Yeah. Because as soon as Gloucester lost his sight and he felt like humiliated, he looked differently at the poor Tom, who he thought was just a crazy person.
That's a good point. And as Kent was a nobleman telling the king the truth, it wasn't accepted. He was banished. But once he dressed himself as a peasant and continued telling the king what he saw as truth and trying to protect him, then it was accepted.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know what that means. Maybe the king saw him as a threat when he was on kind of closer to his level.
But he was also in his rage at that very moment. So he, when you're at that point of rage and you can't see, maybe that's the lesson is to, one, don't get there. And 2, stop and listen to reason when someone's trying to help you come off the ledge.
Yeah.
That can be difficult, but a message.
The play also wants you to ask if justice exists, if bad people get their comeuppance, and if good people get the reward that they deserve. And that can be interesting to dissect. Of course, bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people.
Yep.
But in this play, I think Albany's giving Kent, is it Kent? Yeah, Kent and Edgar, their positions back is supposed to imply they're being rewarded for their good. I don't know.
And then also forgiveness is in here, right?
Yeah.
Because Edmund did Edgar dirty. And then they had a whole section of talking through their issues, and he forgave him. But I don't know, did Gloucester die?
Yeah. He did.
Okay.
He actually dies of a heart attack after learning that his son Edgar is alive.
Oh. Yeah.
He dies of joy and shock.
Oh, wow.
And a lack of eyeballs. So at least his death, he dying with a smile.
Yeah.
He said, Edgar's alive.
But
if you watching on YouTube, I reenacted it.
Okay. Yeah, she did that.
Theater.
So yeah, that was it. I love the book, and I would definitely recommend it to others. I'm comfortable doing that. I would definitely read it again as well. So that's King Lear, folks. And I say, watch it, listen to it, and read it. I got to read the modern version.
I don't know about watching it. You will see some stabbings and de-eyeballings.
Oh, I didn't
But read
see
it for sure.
I've never seen it. Sorry.
You mean it live?
Yeah, like I'm in a stage play, but I don't imagine. I don't know who's doing King Lear these days, but I imagine somebody is somewhere.
I thought you meant like in a movie.
No, because I never saw the movie.
There are many movies, but
I'm
okay.
sure.
So yeah, I agree. Open air theater where they're going to keep it cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely go see it. Go see it in the park. Shakespeare in the park.
Oh, yeah. They have that in New York too, don't they?
Probably, but we live in Chicago and they got it here too.
Oh, Shakespeare.
Yeah, get into that. So thank you guys for listening to Lit Society. Lit Society is brought to you by Kari Herrera and Alexis Honoria.
Does he?
Support the cause by leaving a 5-star review for our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, along with a comment about why you absolutely love us. We love you too. Subscribe to our amazing free email newsletter by visiting litsocietypod.com. And until next time, you guys, read
something.